Do you like basketball? Basketball, no. I like, but I'm not good at. Yes, I'm not.
Me too.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the State of the League podcast, the only NBA podcast breaking down soft, crybaby, flopping bitch losers. I'm your host, Jack, a.k.a. Jokicjoestar. With me, as always, the world-famous Pablo Escoball, and today we are joined by famous NBA YouTuber, Twitter, internet personality, Mr. Cone, Mr. Threecone. How are you doing today, Mr. Cone?
I'm doing good. I appreciate the formal Threecone introduction. You know, that's what my parents named me. I appreciate that. I'm doing well. You know, it's a shame I got to come on here and talk about, that foul merchant flopping crybaby, Shai Alexander. It's devastating, how he's ruining our great sport. But I'm glad we get to break that down, really dig into the depths of how he's just ruined the game of basketball. Pretty much single-handedly, honestly, at this point. I don't think anyone else is contributing in any way.
Yeah, no. I was looking, obviously this is all coming from Twitter, but someone tweeted that, Shai has 600 free throws made. Nobody else even has 500. Instantly, I go to, the James Harden peak just to see, what he was putting up in his prime. There's, 4 straight seasons where Harden made, nearly 750 free throws. And so it's just dude, what kind of context do you people have for, what a flopper can really get up to? I don't know. Pablo, how are you doing today?
I'm okay. I watched a lame basketball documentary last night. You'll never guess what they put out on HBO. They put out a documentary about a single game, and it was the game the Dream Team lost to the college kids. You know that?
Oh, okay.
They made an entire separate documentary for that game alone. And 59% of the more than that, almost all the footage was from the original Dream Team documentary, and they just reused it. And then it was all just 56 minutes talking about the game, and then the rest of it was they were mad that Coach K said the Dream Team threw the game. They lost on purpose, and so they were pressing Coach K about it. They're like, "You didn't lose it." He's like, "Yeah, I did," and that was it. I can't believe the state of basketball documentaries.
That does sound pretty stupid. I'm not gonna lie. I watched Thunder Celtics, and that game was sick. And then I watched probably 15 minutes of Nuggets Wolves, and I was like, I'm scared this is gonna go the way it usually has lately. Instantly it did, and so turned that off, and I watched Blazers Knicks. Was an incredible game. So outside of the personal biases I had and the way my agendas are kind of withering on the vine, it was pretty sick night of hoops last night. But yeah. So obviously we have Cone here to just kind of talk about SGA and the season that the Thunder are having in general. I wanted to open this up, just this episode, full positivity maxing. Later on, we could talk about, the consequences of being a team with this high of aspirations and, the pros and cons and everything. But right now, I just wanted to, how long have you been a Thunder fan? I guess that's, a fine place to start.
Wait, there's some noise in your background going on, Jack. Do you know that, or
what noise? What does it sound like?
Wait,
What does it sound like? Describe it.
It's like a clack clack.
Oh, yeah. I think it's his chair.
Oh, it's your chair, Cone?
No, there is, right here in this corner. So I live in New York City in an apartment building. There is this weird noise that happens at certain hours of the day where just no, legitimately, I was like, oh God, I hope he's not hearing the weird noise that happens from the roof above me. I don't know what it is. I wish I could tell you. I wish I knew. It sounds like someone is dropping marbles periodically right above my head.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, so it is my fault.
That's fine though, because this is great.
Okay,
we're leaving this part.
I'll talk to the marble person above me later. It's been way long overdue. At least it's not the woman who screams between 1 and 3 a.m. across the
nice.
Yeah,
this
so
is just the most.
I haven't asked. I don't know if she's real or not. I'll ask her later. But
okay.
so my apartment building right here behind this curtain, I can never figure it out. There's this beautiful view of a brick wall that's a different apartment building, and there is someone who just screams. Like, I don't know what is going on, but I mean, I've lived here for like 3 years, and it's not like she's being like murdered or anything, because it keeps happening unless there's, you know, I haven't seen it, but I know there's like that Mickey 17 movie that came out. Maybe there's just like a new screaming person who just takes that spot every time. Cool. But it just happens. Like the other day I was trying to record, and in the middle of me talking about, I think I was talking about the Pelicans, which, you know, is a great place for that to happen. All of a sudden I just hear, ah! It sounds exactly like that. And like I just broke. I couldn't stop. Like I had to reset and, you know, go over the whole Herb Jones has been injured thing. So devastating part for that to happen. Anyways, the Thunder fandom. So that started right around the time they moved to OKC. So I'm from Virginia originally. So people are like, how the hell are you a Thunder fan? And people are like, you know, oh, why aren't you a Wizards or Hornets fan? Which, first of all, thank God, part of me thinks that future me went back into the past and made it so that that didn't happen, because it'd be like the worst. I would not be here right now. I would be probably sobbing into a pillow or something of that sort. But I started following basketball, and that was just right around the time when, you know, Russ came to OKC and Kevin Durant, and like the team started to get good, and no one in my family was a basketball fan. And I just, specifically, it was Russell Westbrook. And I was like, oh, this guy's sick. I'm going to follow the team. And that led me to, you know, hey, we made it to the finals. We're going to win one, to blowing a 3-1 lead to the Warriors. And then KD leaves, and then Dame hits the shot. And, you know, everything since then. So it's been nonstop heartbreak since that moment. But we're pretty good now. I would personally say, my unbiased opinion, I think the Thunder are a good basketball team. So
yeah, I would say that's a really based it's a based outcome for a kid with no basketball affiliations picking a team to be a fan of. For their picking the Thunder, it's like, I don't know, that it's usually like the Lakers. That's where people go. And so,
well, the bad part is, my other sports fandoms, I'm a Cowboys and a Yankees fan. So
nice.
Yeah, so my dad was his dad was in the military when he was growing up, so they were traveling all over the place. And so the only like stations that continuously were on showing baseball and football were, you know, they were showing the Yankees and the Cowboys games because they were huge. So he made me a fan of those teams when I was younger. And I hate him for it till this day because of that, because he grew up and it's like Yankees winning 1,000,000 World Series and the Cowboys, oh my God, they're so good. And now Jerry Jones continues to stay alive for as long as he has, and the Cowboys suck. And the Yankees have won 1 World Series out of 27 since I've been alive, and I was 9 years old. Nice. I can't get into it too much. But yeah,
and Juan Soto just fucking dips, baby. Like, it's tough.
I'm so glad you reminded me of more trauma that I had pushed to the back of my mind. I appreciate that.
Hey, Julius Randle, 25 points on 75% last night. I got to make somebody suffer with me, you know?
Yeah, that's all right. We both have our traumas. I get it.
Yeah. And Westbrook specifically, I don't know, like, that's also just such a little kid thing to just be like, yo, this is the most athletic fucking person I've ever seen. This is my team. This is what I'm going with. Yeah, that rocks. Pablo, what are you thinking?
Where I'm thinking, how hard was it to resist gang sign John Wall when he popped up? Another big time athlete. You're like, ooh, maybe I'll jump ship. He's a little closer.
Thankfully not, because the Wizards at that point were, you know, like, I was like, oh, the Thunder, like, they just made the finals. Like, I kind of really started to get into it before, like, I mean, hey, you know, the Wizards fight with the 2015 Hawks. That's like a core memory in the back of my mind, because I grew up around some Wizards fans. But it also helped that I'm from like the southeast corner of Virginia. So I was like as far as possible in Virginia from DC. But yeah, I mean, every single day, like, I will sit down and, you know, I'll just thank whatever powers exist above that I am not a Wizards or a Hornets fan, and that I ended up as an OKC Thunder fan. So it's a great life I live.
Okay. So Thunder fan for a fucking minute now at this point. So like this season, the SGA, what is likely to be the MVP campaign. I feel like everyone on this call is probably on the same page. How does this stack up to some of the other like highlight seasons in the time that you've been a Thunder fan?
I mean, I tweeted this out a little bit ago. This is my favorite Thunder team ever. It also is because, like, when the 2016 Thunder were around, I was 16 years old. Like my brain was not fully formed and I quite didn't understand the scope of the world the way that I do now. And now I appreciate the joy I get in this hellscape that we live in from the Oklahoma City Thunder. So yeah, I mean, Shai is at this point, I'd say he's past Russ as my favorite player because I've also gotten more into basketball as I've gotten older. Like obviously, like this is my career now as I talk about hoops, which is still insane to even say that sentence out loud. But like, yeah, it's been an incredible season. They're going to set the Thunder win record. I think they're going to win the finals again in my very unbiased, objective point of view. So yeah, I mean, it's been great. Lou Dort's a 40% 3-point shooter. How the hell did that happen? That's super cool. Which crazy story on draft night. I was having like a draft party with a bunch of my friends. We would always get together and just watch the draft. And I had watched a little bit of Lou Dort, and one of my best friends, Caleb, he was like a Lou Dort diehard, and he's a Nets fan. He's like, I need the Nets to draft Lou Dort, get him somehow. And so the whole draft, we were losing it because Lou Dort wasn't getting drafted. And then the Thunder sign him. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. And I'm bragging in his face. And never did I think he was going to be lockdown defender, 40% 3-point shooter, crazy Lou Dort arc at from then till now. But like, I mean, missing Chet for a lot of the season, still racking up wins. iHeart's here. The bald eagle is nesting in Oklahoma City right now. Everything's great. Aaron Wiggins has saved basketball. I was wearing the Aaron Wiggins shirt yesterday, but today is much more of a Mark Daigneault graphic T-shirt day.
Based.
Cool. Yeah, I had to pull this one out. I was like, I'm going to wear this on the podcast, and I went and got a haircut right before this. I had to change. I was like, I don't think I could walk into the barber shop with a Mark Daigneault graphic tee and be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it is a little tough. It is.
You don't
tough.
think they'd be like, oh, that permanent sub the other day? That was so awesome.
Yeah, I think they'd see that. They'd be like, he is a fan of the permanent sub guy and just like shave me bald. I'm just gonna next time going with the Alex Caruso photo and be like, give me this.
Give me this.
Rest in peace, Alex Caruso.
What the hell happened? He's playing championship hoops now. He's not withering away in this fucking,
I mean, he was out with an illness yesterday. He could be. We don't. Which, by the way, I don't know how into like medical stuff you guys are.
Super.
Is it now? Okay, you're super into
Yeah,
medical
we're
stuff.
doctors
Perfect.
by trade. This is just for fun.
Okay, all right, awesome. Appreciate you guys. So, is it not like I don't know how viruses work, but KP being on the bench with like a mysterious virus that they don't know of, is that not weird?
So
No,
what does viral mean? Does that mean contagious, or what does that mean?
I mean, first of all, I assume contagious. Like you can give them. Are viruses contagious? I guess I gotta fucking Google this now. Great start to the Thunder episode, but
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad the two doctors here have to Google virus. I appreciate that.
yeah, yes, viruses are contagious. So no, like my read of the whole situation is not only is it one of the most insane, like under the radar diagnoses that I've ever heard, where like Porzingis the whole year he's like my toe, my finger, my ankle, like just all these like little nick injuries, and then he's like good to go, and it's like, oh no, God gave you this insane fucking disease that like we can't even identify. And so for him to keep pulling up, and like I get that you want to support the team, but it feels like rolling the dice this close to the playoffs.
Yeah, I just don't know what this mysterious virus entails. And yeah, it is so insane that he's like, oh yeah, I finally got healthy and now I have like the plague and I'm just going to chill on the bench and hang out at courtside.
Yeah, it's nuts. It reminds me a little bit of I don't know if this last year or a couple of years ago, but Lonzo Ball came out after missing a long time. He's like, yeah, we still really don't know what's up with my knee. We have multiple guys in there, don't really know what's going on. I was like, this is the worst day of my life. And so I don't know if that's better or worse than just having a mysterious plague going on there. Is he anti-vax? We don't know that either. We'll see.
This is information. Do we have any sources on the Kristaps Porzingis anti-vax status?
No, but we know he gets into fights every summer when he goes home to Latvia outside the bar. So what if he got it from one of those guys via punch?
Possible.
Oh, a punch transmitted virus? Can that happen? Google, can you transmit a virus through punch?
Well, Google's AI tool is so fucked that like I feel like every time the thing it throws me at the top, it's just like, yeah, you could get a virus from a punch for sure. It just I
love when I look up like, oh, what should I put in my smoothie, and it's like someone on Reddit 3 years ago jokingly said put like nails and sawdust in it, and then Google's like, yeah, make sure you throw nails in there for extra protein.
Yeah, batteries.
I'm so glad that the global search engine now is just lying to me at the top of the screen. That's my favorite part about everything. But yeah, so the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're doing great. Great season, been having a lot of fun with it. It's nice. I mean, outside of them blowing like a 20-point lead to the Timberwolves randomly, I know you know all about Timberwolves losses.
Oh, yeah. That's why it wasn't even the fact that the Nuggets were playing like shit last night that made me turn the game off. It's because I kept getting fucking Akira flashbacks to the last time we played the Wolves at home that I even remember. It was that game. They probably did it earlier this season. I just can't stomach that shit anymore. But yeah, I mean, what a nightmare, dude. So, hey, at least, I don't know. Is it better to have who was it? Terrence, whoever that went off in that game against the Thunder. I feel like it wasn't like Anthony Edwards and everybody.
Oh yeah. Terrence Shannon went off. Jalen Clark was just like unstoppable defensively for some reason. Naz Reid, I kind of believe Wolves fans when they say he's the greatest player of all time, because I see the stuff he does. I'm like, I mean, if I showed this to anybody and said, how good do you think this guy is? They go, oh yeah, that's probably like the next Michael Jordan. And honestly, they might be right.
They'd be like, he's definitely starting. And you're like, well, the personnel's kind of funky at this team. So he's actually,
yeah. You see, they traded Karl Anthony Towns after their best season ever, but now they're also like really good again. And Julius Randle's buying in somehow. Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah. So, Thunder season, super sick. Lou Dort. I don't know. Like, is that what players on this team, just top to bottom, is like the roster incredibly fun, or like who do you have the most fun watching night to night besides Shai, I guess?
Yeah, Shai's definitely up there, despite, everybody hating him at this point. Most disliked YouTube video I've ever had was me saying that Shai was the MVP a couple days ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Hey, I apologize. Jokic people online, like it's one of the most disastrous communities I've ever engaged with. It's really insane.
Is it directly the Jokic community, or who hates Shai the most?
I think it is a good number of like Nuggets, Jokic kind of. I think also a lot of Russell Westbrook fans really don't like Shai because he's coming for like, the best player in Thunder history title. And especially now that Russ is a Nugget alongside Jokic, it forms like this coalition of Shai needs to, just evaporate. And I think it leads to a snowball of hate. But just, so for reference, like my video I put up yesterday, 97.6% like to dislike ratio, 97.8 the one before that, 98.3 the one about the MVP race, 80.8. It has 620 likes, 147 dislikes. So it's still strongly in the like category, but easily my lowest ratio ever. And I have not looked at the comments once. I uploaded it, the day after the Thunder beat the Nuggets. I'm like, this probably is going to end the race. And then the Nuggets, kind of trounced the Thunder next game because Peyton Watson is the greatest shooter of all time. And
Jalen Pickett, respect, please. But I get where you're going
my
for.
fault. Peyton Watson is second to Jalen Pickett. My fault.
Yeah.
But I have not checked the comments on that video since that, because I can only imagine. I mean, how many comments does that video have now? That one has... the videos before it, 273 comments, 238, 128, 148, 276, 215, 618 on the MVP race one.
Yeah, I assume that's all civil. I assume that's all,
Oh yeah, it's very like nice, nuanced debate for sure.
Yeah,
you're actually talking about the socio-economic status of like global politics and things.
Yeah. Every third comment is just like, appreciate your opinion, thanks, man. Like it's just nice to hear a different point of view. Pablo, what are you thinking about right now?
I just didn't think Jokic had motion like that. That's crazy. But also, I was thinking last night when I watched the Nuggets game, I was just thrown off again by how bad the jerseys are for both teams. Like, how much better would this matchup be if they both had iconic, like, cool '90s jerseys? But yeah, outside of that, it's crazy what people must have no memory of even like. Oh, well, I guess it is like 2018. Do you think that's the peak of like the soft officiating? That's when like Trey and Luka averaged 9 free throws. I think their sophomore year, and everyone was going crazy, and you really couldn't touch guys at all. It's far better now, and it's wild that people have just determined that he's Mr. Free Throw Merchant. Even though I saw in your video, you're like he's like 15th, right? In What was the specific stat?
Yeah, so it's, let me find the tweet again. But yeah, it's like out of 21 seasons of somebody averaging like this many points per game, he's like 15th in free throws.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Let me see if I can find that tweet. It is, since the NBA-ABA merger, 21 instances of a player averaging 32 plus points per game. If you rank the season by free throw attempts per game, Shai's 15th. The greatest of all time, Michael Jordan at 11.9, number one. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so stupid. It's just so stupid how, like, the way people choose to care about that shit. And so, like, I don't know. I feel like everyone here has watched it between, like, Luka, Trey, Embiid, Brunson, Harden, whoever. I've never felt like Shai, I guess as the season has gone on, maybe like it's gotten a tad worse, just in terms of like him maximizing contact on drives, but especially in like the first half of the season, I didn't feel like he was doing anything extra as far as like star guards go. And so it is, I don't know, it feels like almost we have a power vacuum right now of like, Embiid goes down. Harden's obviously on the decline. Trey's not a competitive team right now. Luka, weird season for him. There's not really like a true unethical hooper to like hold the crown. And so you just have like, Shai's the closest thing, I guess. And he's obviously in the spotlight a lot. So that's just where the conversation has gone.
Who is number one this year?
In free throws?
Throw attempts? Yeah.
It might be Shai. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head. I know he's at like probably close to 9 now, if I had to guess.
Yeah, let's. I think Giannis is leading Shai second. Yeah, Giannis is at 10.2 a game. Shai's at 8.9.
Hey, if you don't make them, they don't count. That's what people say.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
If you count to 10, then they magically disappear.
Yeah, that's
the strategy that opposing fans should try with Shai.
It's like the boogeyman.
Yeah. Bob, I mean, do you have any questions about do you have any like positive Thunder glaze to throw out there while we're just doing pure happy shit right now?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's so much good going on. They got guys at every position. Isaiah Joe, what a story. Late. How many of these guys are late picks? So we have Lou Dort, we have Isaiah Joe, we have Kenrich Williams, Alex Caruso. I guess doesn't really count because that was a trade. But yeah,
Aaron Wiggins 55th.
Yeah,
That's
this
so
team
crazy,
is
dude.
a masterclass in scouting. And every year it feels like there's a guy playing at Oklahoma University right now. I just started watching him, Jeremiah Fears. He wears number 0. So on the back it says 0 Fears.
I've been seeing, because I follow a lot of Oklahoma people with the Thunder. And so like I've been seeing people talk with Jeremiah Fears. It feels to me like the most obvious like superstar star name ever. I'm a firm believer in if you have a cool name, like you are just exponentially more likely to be a star. It's just the way it goes.
Absolutely.
Like, 0
and
Fears.
He even plays cool.
Yeah. If you play cool and have a cool name, like 0 Fears is crazy. I mean, Dalton Connect, it's been up and down for him, but Connect 4 as a nickname, I feel like he's going to remain in the league. He could do nothing for the next 15 years, and I'd still, as a GM, sign him because that's just so sick.
And you know what's crazy? He has a brother who plays at Michigan State, and I'm pretty sure he wears like number 17 or something. Oh
yeah,
no, he wears number 1. So he has.
He's got one fear. He's like
Yeah.
he's got like arachnophobia or something. He's
Or
like,
maybe
it's
his brother, his younger brother.
His one fear is failing his younger brother.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's stupid. Oh my god. All right. Okay. I think that's probably enough glaze. Like we've okay. So do you want to do anything in terms of like Shai MVP propaganda here? Do you like have? I mean, I'm sure you've made like several videos. Obviously, the most disliked one and everything, breaking down the full case. Do you want to just like encapsulate the argument real quick?
Yeah, I can go for it. Which, by the way, shout out to Andrew Smith-SL5ZJ, who just commented "LOL clown video" on that video. I appreciate that feedback. That's really
You
good.
got your ass, dude. Get fucking
What an
nude.
idiot I am! I'm the biggest idiot ever. They're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's. I'm getting tweet. Also, crazy thing about like I know we're talking about like the consequences of being good. Like I mean, I get DMs now anytime the Thunder get a big win, or I'm tweeting about Shai MVP of like, Shai's a fraud, like you're a loser, like get a job, things
And-
like that.
Okay. Did that just start this season? Because this is the third season Shai is averaging 30 points per game. And it's the third season also that he is leading the league in made free throws. I looked back the last couple of years. And so, like, attempts is one thing, but he's at least got the most makes right now and everything. Last 2 years, like, he was just pure aura, like, only cool, and I didn't feel like there was that much negativity around him. Do you feel like it spiked this year?
It's definitely spiked. There was still a good bit last year. A lot of it that was focused in like they do the fun post-game interviews and they're doing the barking and things like that. And everyone's like, they want to be the Memphis Grizzlies. They're so corny, like they're clowns. There is a weird like rivalry or like it's like kind of one-sided between Grizzlies fans who are like, we did this first. We did the post-game interviews first. And Thunder fans who are like, we're just, kind of having fun with it a little bit. I don't know. That's a whole thing.
It's hilarious to be winning like, what did the Grizzlies win? Like 18 games last year or whatever, and just be like, ha, they want to be us so bad, dude. Like that's just like the only like grain that the Grizzlies fans had last year. It was like, Jaren's down, Bane's down, Jaw's down. Nobody can play. Our team's fucking terrible. Oh, but the 1 seed wants to be us. Interesting, cool.
They'll learn. Shai's gonna flash a gun soon. They all do. Every team that does this, their star player does that. We're the same.
Yeah, it's gonna like the big indicator is whenever someone does like the whole Dylan Brooks, like we're doing the whole like in the tunnel dancing video. The second I see one of those, I'm gonna start like writing the eulogy for this team. It's gonna be devastating. So yeah, it was definitely like kind of there in a little bit last year. And people saying, "Oh, the Thunder are fake 1 seed and this and that." But this year especially, I mean, it is spiked. It is like every time the Thunder get a big win, there's people in my DMs. They're like every time I tweet, like yesterday, I tweet out, that Shai had that tough bucket on Jaylen Brown, and there's like 40 comments of like push off, he flops anyways, it doesn't matter. Like it's the typical stuff you see on NBA Twitter, but it's absolutely spiked now more than ever because it's the typical arc a team takes where that first year where they barely miss out in the playoffs, losing that game to the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm realizing now how much the Minnesota Timberwolves have just existed as this force against, both of us. But like, losing to the Minnesota Timberwolves in that playing game. And at that point, it's like, oh, the Thunder are so fun. Look at this Shai season. They're amazing. They're on the rise. Like, wait till Chet's back next year. And then next year, they're like, wait a second. They're too good. Stop. Like, no, chill out. And now this year, they're like an actual, like, real legitimate threat. And it's like, they suck. I hate them. They're a fraud. They're going to fall apart in the playoffs, this and that. And it's, it's kind of just the timeline of the way things go. It happened with the Grizzlies too, I feel like, where it's like, oh yeah, Ja, like they're this fun young team, and then everybody hates them after they actually get good.
Yeah. I remember when everyone loved the Warriors. Those were good times and back in the day. But yeah, and I think, is this the first, so I'm thinking like Nazi Twitter, full just engagement mode, the like whatever you say, like everyone is negative on there now and everyone's angry all the time. Yeah. Is this the first MVP race to be fully affected by that, or was that in place before?
That's interesting. I don't know. Because, like, I feel like Twitter has changed so much just in the past, like, 16 months. Like, and I don't even remember specifically when Elon bought it, but just, like, coinciding with, like, the run-up to the election and everything, and just the way, like, there was, like, a pretty serious shift towards, like, what was pushed and marketed on there. I don't know. Jokic fans definitely get, like, racism accusations, and there are, like... I see the fucking underbelly of like the fandom, and it's just like, dude, I cannot.
Yeah, there was a few tweets like that in the comments for one of my Shai MVP posts after the Nuggets Thunder game. I was like, oh my god, like some of the things people are just. I mean, I know that's kind of the way the app is now. Like, it's just this utter cesspool. Like, do you get like what kind of ads do y'all get? Because I have gotten ads where it's just straight like people having sex, like just straight on naked, like, and it's an ad. It says the word ad next. I'm like, what are you advertising?
No, the ads I get have lately been like straight up like conspiracy theorists being like like they're putting like chemicals in the water and you need to pay attention to this shit, and it has like 5 likes and they're paying it. I don't know, it's just I saw one earlier that was just straight up White Lives Matter advertised, and I was like, oh god. And so it's I would say this is probably the first race to be like on that kind of Twitter for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's gotten, especially since the election, it's been like, it's just a complete, utter, like, mess. If I didn't have a following on there, I would have left so long ago. It's so unfortunate that I tied myself to the now Elon Musk X the Everything app is what I tied myself to. Just devastating decision by me. The future Cone that, stopped me from becoming a Wizards Hornets fan. I wish he also was like, do it on like, I don't know, Facebook maybe. Like that could be kind of fun, or try Instagram. I don't know.
Oh my god.
So,
yeah.
I'm off fully. I saw too many videos of people getting killed and people dying. I was like, okay. So I'm on Blue Sky now, and so Blue Sky's very much like 2014 Twitter. It's like a lot of millennials making the same jokes they were back then and stuff like that.
I mean,
it's
pizza,
lame.
am I right? Stuff like that.
Yeah, like a lot of
what a derp you are, man. What a derp.
Yeah, a lot of mustache tattoos, and so it's that kind of vibe. It's definitely lamer, less funny, but it's just safer.
The trade off, I suppose.
Haven't seen blood leaking out of anyone's head, but yeah, last year's MVP race, I don't remember being too super divisive, but the one before is Jokic and Embiid, correct?
Yeah.
That one was pretty hardcore, but it felt more natural. Like just Joel Embiid fans versus Jokic fans, just arguing spreadsheets, arguing foul baiting and everything similar to this race. But I did actually last night. I went through and starting at the Westbrook MVP year. I went through to try and figure out how often does the narrative shift for these MVPs, as in like who wins best guy on best team versus best numbers. And it was cool going through it, and so for my for the catalyst for it all, I used Zach Lowe's articles every year where he explained his MVP pick.
Nice.
And it was funny. So I actually started 2016. So 20, and so what do you think? This year, Shai has the best record. Do you think he has the best numbers?
Just straight like counting stats? No, Jokic has the better counting stats.
Yeah.
Even like advanced of all across the board, everything. Who
gives a fuck about that, dude?
Numbers,
yeah, that's nerd thing.
Exactly. God damn.
So yeah, wait. Should we start at this year's race or start at the beginning?
Hey, let's start at 2016. Let's walk through it. Let's lead up to this.
Okay, all right. So 2016. Yeah, that's Steph. That's
obviously
best record ever, best offensive season ever at that time for sure. So boring one, yeah. 2017. This is the Westbrook MVP, and so this is probably the funkiest MVP we're gonna see, because he
Cone's like it's the realest MVP of all time.
Yeah, it's actually the greatest. It actually is the most legitimate MVP. People are saying it's the best MVP ever.
I've just heard that around,
Yeah, actually the person up there who's dropping the marbles literally like put their mouth down and like whispered it. I heard it through there. Yeah.
That season was crazy.
It might be God.
Yeah.
There was a 50-50 chance. Like it's like Schrodinger's God is above me in the New York City apartment building I'm in right now.
Cool. That's such a New York City apartment thing too. It's just like, yeah. I got a guy, he drops marbles upstairs. That's what he does.
Yeah, I got the marble guy, I got the screaming person out there, I took a shower earlier and I like turned on the hot water and then like left for a moment and I came back out, and so I had someone like inspect my apartment at one point. The water reaches, like if I put it hot and forget about it, it reaches like almost 300 degrees and like legitimately would give me burns if I stepped in it. I wish they would fix that, because I could have died and never been here, and I never would have gotten to talk about the Shai MVP case, which would have been detrimental to his chances of winning.
That would be
that
really
almost
bad
killed me
for our
earlier.
episode.
I know. If I'm just like a completely burned like corpse, like I don't think I would have been nearly as fun.
Hey guys, episode's gonna be a little late today. Cone died, so we gotta find someone.
Cone's not really feeling up to the episode, so we're gonna just do it around his like burned corpse in the chair. Yeah.
Well, if you die right after this, that's kind of big for our ratings.
That's true.
Like
that's fair.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna go turn the shower on. I'll be back in like 5 seconds.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. So
but it is so funny to have the Westbrook season where two guys actually probably had superior numbers like all across the board, which is Harden and Kawhi, but he's the first guy to get the triple-double, like since Oscar. And it is so funny I'm sure some Thunder fans at the time were like, well, no, if you get the triple-double, it's yours. Like, and just thinking it's never
I
gonna
feel
come
like that
back
was
to
like a
bite me.
prevailing thing in the media. Was just
that-
like, yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely the thing. But specifically for Thunder fans, they could be like, no, I don't have to think, whoever gets triple-double wins. And then for that to come back and bite them the next time they have an MVP candidate like 10 years
It is very
future.
ironic that now it's Shai against the triple-double guy after the way it was in the past.
I will say, like, from Thunder fans' perspective, though, I feel like it's the best of a lot of worlds where Westbrook gets the MVP because he gets that massive boost from the triple-double thing. But the triple-double thing, it was kind of like a one-time thing, it feels like.
Yeah.
Where now, like, if Jokic was doing this that season, or, like, it hadn't happened that season and Jokic was doing it now, I do feel like there would still be a lot of people just spamming the, triple-double, triple-double. Like, it would carry a lot more narrative weight, even though, like, when you really think about it, kind of an arbitrary cutoff for, like, numbers or a good game or whatever. But I don't feel like Jokic has gotten that boost very much at all. Like, people, it's more about top three in every counting stat as opposed to being just like a straight up triple double. And so, yeah, I don't know. Like, to me, it feels Westbrook, he almost like helped Shai in the future. It was a ripple effect.
Yeah, I kind of feel like he taught us that triple doubles aren't inherently good. Like not necessarily that season, but beyond, like just checking the 10-10-10 isn't necessarily good. And I wonder how we'd feel about that if this Jokic season came first in terms of triple doubles. Would everyone be like, no, this is literally the greatest basketball accomplishment ever? But yeah, he also did have more going for him beyond the triple doubles. He had the Kevin Durant narrative, because he was the evil guy, and we were all rooting for Westbrook. There was this epic Lord. It was an edit before TikTok, so it was only on YouTube.
It was for the love of the game.
It was her cover of Everyone Wants to Rule the World. It was a Westbrook MVP edit. It changed my life back then. He also had the clutchness narrative, and so this is from Zach Lowe back then. He led the league in go-ahead or game-tying shots in the last minute of games. He shot 46% on a preposterous 100 field goal attempts in the last 3 minutes of close games, and the Thunder destroyed teams in high-leverage moments. And so he goes on to say how impressive that is, and he says some voters will dismiss that as small, semi-random sample that shouldn't put him over Harden, but each single season is a small sample, and those shots went in, and that counts. And he says it's the even stronger part of his case than the triple doubles. And he points out he single-handedly won 3 games in the last 2 weeks, or that probably clinched him the award. And so essentially he had all that, and then it was very much the take him off this team. They're one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
Put him on this team. They're a mid-tier Western playoff team. So it's a little bit different. And then Harden that year was averaging 29, 8, and 11, which is so funny. He just couldn't get to 10.
Boo, not 10. Boo.
He's like, Clint, could you just, or was that Dwight Howard at that point? I don't remember who the big was still, but he's just like, yo, could you just let me get a couple more? And it's like, nah, man, I'm playing for a contract. You can fight for these boards.
Let Clint get his boards.
I guess. Yeah.
It's crazy looking back how these teams, now I'm looking at the roster, I'm like, this is not that good. This is the year Ryan Anderson is starting, and back then I'm probably like, oh man, that's a game-changing stretch big. That's a great start.
Well, it's because compared the Thunder that year, shout out to Steven Adams and everybody, and obviously the young Sabonis and Oladipo who would develop, but I remember watching the Thunder, and Andre Roberson put a fire in me that very few Nuggets guys have since. That's a Facundo Campazzo, Devon Reed level of player where I'm just like, dude, can we fucking get a sub, please? Like when there was like
I thought you were excited about his defense.
His defense was sick. Shout out to the defense that year. But like, god damn it, dude. Like it was crazy.
Bro, like we had Domantas Sabonis out there as a stretch big.
Yeah.
That was like his whole role was to shoot threes. And looking back, that was so insane that we're like, yeah, this is our stretch big who's gonna save us. I mean, like the backup point guard most of the year was Semajay Christian.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And he was the one, he will forever live because he hit the three in the corner that gave Russ the final triple-double to break the record. He forever will live in that Nuggets game. And he played 1 year in the NBA, and that was it. Averaged 2.9 points per game that season in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And shot 34% from the field and 19% from three. But he hit the one to get Russ the triple-double.
That's
he hit it when it mattered.
He only played one season in the NBA?
Trust me, it felt like 17 for me watching it that year. I would have told you he played for like 10-year vet.
That's crazy. I must only remember him because his name is James backwards, right?
Yeah, backwards James.
Yeah, that's so crazy. And it is so funny that you mentioned Sabonis because I picked that out as a funny part of the article. He said, they are poor on scoring talent. It would be hard to find a strong playoff team in any season starting two worse offensive players than Andre Roberson and Domantas Sabonis. So him and Harden, basically, they had kind of the same thing going on, but it just felt like it was way harder for Westbrook because Harden had offensive talent around him. It was like Eric Gordon, Ryan Anderson, those types of guys, like capable scorers, and Westbrook had that.
Also, if you want to talk like narrative part of the award, I do feel like that Nuggets game was like very like that's probably the strongest narrative moment any MVP has had in the last like 10 like however many years is like you're leading up to this historic stat line and everything. It's like, will he do it? Can he do it? Blah, blah, blah. And then the fucking game winner right at the end. We always talk about how like March, April hoops, the most important hoops in any MVP race. Nobody gives a shit what you do in November. It never matters. And so for that to be like the last thing before voters like start putting the ballots in or whatever, it's just like, dude, I don't know how you could vote against him emotionally.
We want to talk about aura. That's every MVP's got to have their aura moment. That's the aura moment. That's him being Shai knocking over Bismack Biyombo with strictly aura. That's
with his Conquerors hockey. Yeah, and that was. I wonder if that's like, is this the closest we get to like 100% approval rate from fans at this point? Like, was anyone rooting against Westbrook? I feel like no back then, especially relative to Harden. I feel like Harden was probably already disliked, and. But yeah, it was crazy.
I remember Rockets fans, obviously, pushing for Harden, but it really did feel like outside of him, everyone's like, "Yeah, Russ is doing the triple-double thing. This is sick."
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I felt. Like it was
ball knower.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's when it started. Really, I was like, I don't give a shit about any of that Harden advanced stuff. Just give me Westbrook all the way, baby.
Me a Derrick Rose fan at the time. And this is a narrative award, guys. That's the best guy who wins. You need the narrative on your side. That's what makes it legitimate. But also, Zach Lowe he picked Kawhi as his MVP this year, and his case was kind of crazy. So he wasn't obviously heliocentric like the other two, but the offense was way better. Like his offensive on-off was bigger with him on the court than both of those guys. They were like +10 with him versus +9 for the other two. But also a weird thing that I had no memory of this at the time, that he had the worst defensive on-off at the time, and like his defensive numbers were horrible despite this being peak Kawhi Leonard defense. And it turned out that the thing was the 3-point shooting luck with him on the court was completely out of whack. Like they were shooting way better with him on the court from three, and when he went to the bench, teams just shot way worse for no reason. And so it like really messed with his numbers. If they had shot a normal rate, he would have been like, I guess, the clear-cut favorite, like advanced metrics guy. But because of that funkiness, he didn't. And that team also doesn't hold up as well. I guess Dwayne Dedman was getting starts for them. Tony Parker wrapped his worst season since he was a rookie. LaMarcus Aldridge dropped across the board, and Danny Green is Danny Green. A nice 4th or 5th option. That's what Zach Lowe wrote. But yeah, so this was full full narrative boost. And
Yeah.
then next year we get back to Harden has best numbers, best record, 65 wins, 2018 Harden. So yeah, the 2019. Well, and any thoughts on 2018 Harden?
I don't know. I think back to like, it's weird how Westbrook. It's just weird how that whole like moment in NBA history. It feels to me like it kind of altered the award, and it maybe set it up for. I know Giannis with the Bucks. They were incredible. Like they were winning like 58 whatever games. But some of the like the Jokic backpack seasons, I don't know if before that moment would have necessarily won. Where it's like Harden. Okay, Steph and KD can't win. They're out of the running because they're on the same team together and blah blah blah. And then Harden is just like the best choice besides that for best player on the best team. And so yeah, like I don't know. I feel like that was one of the more, would you say, negatively received MVPs, or do we feel like he won it and then over the course of the next few years, like discourse around him became a little bit more bad?
Who finished second in that year's race?
2018. I did not write down for that.
Here,
one.
let me pull it up. I bet it was Giannis. If I had to guess.
This is the 17-18 MVP race.
Yeah, because I was gonna say Giannis.
This might be the LeBron year.
Yeah,
it probably is LeBron.
It is.
Yeah.
LeBron got 738 points. He finished second place, and then AD was third.
He also had pretty good numbers, but Zach Lowe was writing. I think this is the season where they like shipped off the entire team at the trade deadline, and he was writing about how like the vibes were horrible with LeBron. Like he didn't try the last month or two of the season or something like that. And so I guess and he was like, even with James's motor running at 25%, he was still way better on defense than Harden. But he just couldn't. I guess nobody could get behind giving it to LeBron that year.
Yeah, people want to talk about the whole Shai foul baiting, like everything like that. For the Harden antics throughout those years, it was, and I look back now and I appreciate not those parts, but like just how unguardable he was. People were like standing behind him to prevent the step back three. That's how dangerous it was. Like I think about when he just like got on top of Marcus Smart's back and like slowly leaned down and fell over, and that was a foul call. Like that was a whole thing, wasn't it? I think there was one against Chicago. There was like a very egregious one, if I'm remembering right.
Yes, that sounds very familiar. Oh, it was Michael Carter Williams.
Is that who it was?
Yeah, I think it was the same type of thing. He fell all over him. But yeah, then the next year is we get 2019 MVP is Giannis. And this is when Harden drops 36, 7, and 8 on 62% true shooting. They were the third seed in the West. But Giannis won with the best record in the league on 28, 13, and 6 on 64% true shooting. Mm-hmm. And so is this, what do you think this is? Is this just clear-cut best record, best guy, beating best numbers? Or do you think Giannis had a case as well?
I think he did. This almost feels like when the Harden turn began, like strongly. I feel like after he won that MVP, people were like, I didn't like this. They were like, no, like, that's when the antics continued to like up themselves.
What year was that? What did Houston do in the 2018 playoffs? Let me look at this, because I feel like that contributed to everything. We're like insane regular season there in 2018. But
2018, I think, was the year they lost in the conference finals.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, it's Game 7, so yeah, it's the second round, but still, like it was two best teams in the in. Oh wait, no, it was the conference finals. I'm tweaking, but yeah. So that was the Game 7. What I assume is the 27 missed threes or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and so at the time, Zach Lowe said the roster around Giannis was healthier, deeper, and better than the one around Harden. But based on the like net rating when Giannis was on the floor versus Harden, it was better for Giannis. They were 12.5 points better with him on the floor versus Harden. They were only, I think, 6 points better. And so Lowe's argument was Harden took a bad team and turned them good, but Giannis took a good team and turned them into a supernova. And he says, which of those is more valuable? There's no universal answer. But Yeah, so that applies a little bit to this year. So how do you feel about the argument that Jokic has less talent around him than OKC?
Yeah, it's tough because the Thunder have like the depth. Like, Denver has like MPJ, Jamal Murray, as inconsistent as he is sometimes, Aaron Gordon. Like it is a good team. I think sometimes one of my least favorite things, and I feel like this comes from the Russ thing too, is that now it feels like most MVP cases, if you're trying to make a case for your guy, people just expect you to rip the supporting cast.
Yeah.
And I hate that because I'm not going to talk bad about Jaylen Williams or Chet Holmgren or Isaiah Harden. Like the Thunder are a really good team. Like you don't win a championship just being carried. And like I don't want to tear down. I'm sure you don't want to be like, actually, everybody on the Nuggets actually sucks except
well,
Nikola
I want
Jokic.
them to fucking win. So yeah, like this idea, and it's tough because as someone like I'm foregone conclusion, I really do think it's Shai's award. Like I don't think shit's gonna shake up in these last like 16, 17 games or whatever. And so like I'm not even like doing the arguments anymore. But it's tough because like there were definitely like Jamal Murray first half of the season, not a super strong basketball player. Aaron Gordon misses a lot of time. It's like the way I kind of break it down was that like there are flaws that Jokic covers up. But like just being the focal point of like a 70-win team, really being the difference maker of a 70-win team by all of the advanced metrics. I'm totally fine with that being the case. Like I think it's, regardless of how you feel, I think it's stupid to like entrench yourself into like one of the arguments is the standard that should win the award. Whether it's like guy lifting the worst team in the league to the 7th seed or a guy taking a mid team to like all-time heights. I think if you're like coming into the season and you're like whichever guy does that criteria is who I'm going to believe is the MVP. I just don't think it's ever how the award has functioned. It's always been like a super fluctuating thing. And so yeah, like I'm fine that we're here. It feels like an extremely legitimate argument for SGA. The better argument, I feel like.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, even in that video I got super disliked, I said outright, I think Shai's the MVP. I'll admit, I'm a Thunder fan. I'm biased for sure, but I think there is a legitimate case that some people are ignoring. But at the same time, if you think Jokic is the MVP, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. Like, I mean, he's putting up, again, like a nearly 30-point triple-double, like some of the craziest numbers you've ever seen, 30-20-20 game, one of the best offensive players, maybe the best offensive player ever, having one of the greatest offensive seasons I've ever seen. If that is your MVP, I'm not going to say that you're wrong. Like, that'd be insane to say that.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing, too, is I feel like people get so like tribal with the MVP race. It's like, if you don't think my guy should win it, I hate you and you need to die. And I'm like, whoa. Like, let's, calm down a little bit. I think that's probably what most of my comments are saying on that video.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, I just feel like it gets to like, I'm going to rip apart my team supporting cast. They actually all suck except the guy that I want to win. If you think your guy should win, you need to, be sentenced to life in prison. It's just, it gets like so crazy. And I do think, you can make arguments about the flaws of the Nuggets roster. I also think with the Thunder roster, I mean, they were one of the best defensive teams we've seen in a while. And I think part of the reason that we are able to put so much defensive personnel on the court is because Shai just elevates the offense to such an insane level.
If Jokic, I've thought about this a lot lately. I was like, if Jokic was on this team, like it would be good. Like there's very talented and he's so versatile, whatever. This defense would be so much worse just because he has been so bad this season. And so we've seen them like be in, put good point of attack guys around him and him be livable on that end. But I think that specifically is like an angle you could take where it's like Shai really emboldens this team to become this like smothering all-time level defense. And so I think that's like a unique angle. And then I think when we're talking about the 19 MVP where Giannis wins it over Harden, this is the first time in a while, probably since like 13 LeBron, that the MVP makes all defensive team. And so I think that was something that was like really big in the narratives at the time, was like finally a guy who plays both ways between like what Westbrook's offensive load in 2017 just being too much for him to be like super consistently engaged on that end. Obviously 18 Harden, disastrous defender for big stretches. And so Giannis, I feel like that magnified his case a lot was the fact that the Milwaukee Bucks were so good in both directions, and he was one of the best players in the league on both ends. And it was like a breath of fresh air. We hadn't seen anybody do it in a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
Who wins 20? Is that Giannis again in 2020?
That's Giannis again. And last thing on 2019, Jokic actually shows up here in 4th place. I had no memory of
really?
this. Yeah.
That early?
Yeah. And he Lowe wrote, I've seen voters leave Jokic off, and I don't get it. He has to make it. Denver might snag the number 2 seed in the West despite major injuries to 3 starters. He's been their constant. He's the only one even close to all-star status. He's one of the league's half-dozen best offensive players. He's a liability in some matchups on the other end, but the Nuggets have managed to defend at a high level with him on the floor. You cannot say that for Harden and the Rockets. And he says, I flipped between Paul George and Jokic for 3rd and 4th several times, but the Nuggets are way ahead in the standings. So yeah, that was a weird, successful Paul Millsap Nuggets team. But
yeah, the pre-Jokic or the pre-Jamal Murray like injury Nuggets, I felt like Jokic was regularly punished because they were playing like 10 double-digit scorers. Like everybody that they rolled out would average like 12 points per game on solid efficiency. And so Jokic would have like cool numbers, like 18.
He averaged like 20 this year.
Yeah. Like but it was just like, okay, his numbers aren't that cool, and in the year where Giannis is getting all of this aura boost from the two-way play, his numbers aren't that cool, and he's a really bad defender. So I feel like that was something that kind of, I don't know, limited him in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, and so here at 2020, I think this is when he wins Defensive Player of the Year. He's MVP. Giannis is best stats, best team, just best everything. He beats LeBron for second place. And this is the season that was interrupted, I think, right? So this is a weird thing.
Yeah,
but,
this is the bubble and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and I forget when they did the voting. But Zach Lowe said there is no statistical case for LeBron. Pick whatever numbers you want. Giannis leads in everything except assists and three-point shooting. It's one of the most efficient scoring seasons ever. He might win DPOY. The Bucks are way better with him. I guess he wrote that when he played, the Bucks obliterated victims by 16 points per 100 possessions, almost like playing full time with the old Golden State Warriors death lineup. So yeah, I guess that was a no-brainer race. And then 2021 is when we first get Jokic, and this is interesting because he's 3rd seed in the West behind Utah and Phoenix. But neither one of those guys had anyone really in the race. It sounded like from Lowe's.
I remember
articles.
the Chris Paul stuff start towards the end of the season. There were a few people who were like, "Why are we talking about Chris Paul?" In the wins
he
of this?
pointed out Nick Wright as one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. As someone like this is, I mean, peak. Oh my God, life peaked in 2021, baby. I never left my house, and Jokic won MVP. No. So like. Yeah, this was the one where Embiid, I don't know exactly how many games he played in this season, but he went down in like late February, I believe, in a way that it was like, okay, we were getting this sick race. That's completely out the window if Embiid misses this much time. That's when we got like the pivot to the Chris Paul thing. And I feel like that, to me, is the standard for what we've seen like more and more a little bit, to the extent where when the MVP is wrapped up, and the media just needs something to talk about, they continue to like put guys into position or whatever. Chris Paul is like the poster child for that. That Phoenix team was sick, but yeah, it was Jokic and Embiid all season, and then Embiid goes down. I don't really feel like that there was any argument for anyone else.
Yeah, Embiid only ended up playing 51 games. That was also the first year I started doing YouTube, and I was like, oh, I swear by this Phoenix Suns team, they're gonna do it. I promise you. And then they got on my birthday obliterated in Game 7 against the Mavericks, and I was like, guys, maybe I was wrong about that one.
Damn it, dude.
That's like a late season big game sticking in the MVP voters' mind. It's like on my birthday, I'm never gonna
exactly.
Seriously, come on, guys.
The Thunder lost to the Mavericks. I think it was my birthday last year that they got eliminated from the playoffs too. So everything just seems to go wrong. But yeah, with that Game 7, I was getting food with my friends. I was like halfway through a margarita at that point, and I'm like, oh, what? Like I was like, oh, let me check the score, and they were down like 30. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
I remember I was playing pickup basketball when that game had like tipped off, and I was timing it to be like, who gives a fuck about the first quarter or whatever? Like I'm just gonna get home halftime ish, catch the big moments, and it was like someone was like in a plane crash. The way the gym was like silent because someone went over to their phone and they were like, "Yo, Phoenix is down 30 right now," and everyone was just like, what are you talking? It's game 7. They're like that. So yeah, that was a crazy one.
Yeah. And so I guess Jokic just had the best numbers because he wrote, there's really no case for anyone but Jokic. He leads most advanced statistics, and some by a lot, and he's played more minutes than any major candidate. And so was Donovan Mitchell, did he not have crazy numbers this year? I forgot to write it down.
In the voting, he finished, I don't even see him top 10 in the voting. Yeah.
Did Gobert finish anywhere in there?
Gobert was 10th. He got 8 points.
The people love Rudy Gobert, fan favorite Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. He was getting all the credit for this? Because I remember Donovan Mitchell being a pretty good offensive engine at that point, no?
No, he was. But, I mean, yeah, it was, I feel like that was before. There's kind of been this embargo now on like any genuine Rudy Gobert love because there's been so many ridiculous, embarrassing moments. But I do feel like that was before all of that really took off. There was a moment where he got like genuine respect, and people were really surprised by the things that happened in the postseason.
Oh, and it looks like Mitchell missed a lot of games as well. He played 53 games, and he averaged 26, 4, and 5 on 57% true shooting. So yeah, just I guess not a numbers case. So Jokic dominates with numbers, and then 22. This is where we get difficult again. This is when Jokic has the best numbers, and he beats Embiid and Giannis. And so at the time, Zach Lowe wrote that Denver's second and third best players missed basically the entire season. Embiid's would-be co-star sat out the whole damn thing, turning a max salary slot into a 0 until James Harden showed up in Philly's 59th game. So this is Ben Simmons, right? I was confused last night reading. I was like, wait, James Harden sat out the whole year until then? And these two giants carrying their teams to 51 and 48 wins is an incredible accomplishment. Denver won 46 with Jokic. Philly won 45 with Embiid. All the numbers were pretty similar. But Zach Lowe wrote, even though the numbers don't really show it, and they don't, Embiid is the better defender. If I need 3 minutes of shutdown defense to win the title, I'm taking Embiid over Jokic. But available data suggests Jokic is a good defender, at least in the regular season. The gap on defense is not enough to tip the race here, nor is team success. Philly won 51, Denver won 48. Sixers finished 4th, Denver 6th in the West. So that was his case for Jokic.
It's weird to see a year where neither candidate is like a top 3 seed. Like it was 4 versus 6. And I mean, this feels like the most Russell Westbrook coded MVP we've seen since the Russ one, where it is a 6 seed. It is insane numbers. It is the supporting cast being awful. And he just overwhelms. And it's like, yeah, this is the guy that deserves it. One of my least favorite things is when an MVP wins and then, like, you know, the Nuggets got eliminated by the Warriors pretty quickly that year. And they're like, oh, this is the MVP. It's like, yes, he was. He won the award. It's at his house right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was that was such a stupid fucking series. I mean, shout out to Will Barton. The idea of Will Barton in my head now,
Ooh.
he's a little...
The thrill.
He's a little nicer in my brain.
That's what I call him.
But in the moment, for like that whole offseason, there was a moment in game 2 where Jokic had Clay ISO'd in the post and Draymond was closing out on a Will Barton 3-pointer, like a catch and shoot 3. And Barton just fucking bombed it. It was like a 30-footer. And Jokic could have like tied it up and the series would have been tied at 1-1. And so that whole offseason, I was like, 1-1, things would have been different if Will Barton didn't shoot that fucking shot, baby. But yeah, I don't know. just like one of the most backpacking garbage MVPs that we've seen in a long time.
Crazy roster. Some of the names I'm seeing here, like Carlik Jones played 2 games. I don't know who Peter Cornell is with no E after
yeah. I think I remember him. Shout out to
that guy is erased from my memory. If you'd show me that name, I would say he's not a basketball player.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Is it a white guy?
No, it's a black guy from France. So he's like he's a European guy, but he's not a white guy. Yeah. Just this was the year where they're like, and hindsight doesn't help because in hindsight the Sixers roster has gotten better. There's like Maxi's rookie season was there, and it was one of the better regular seasons Tobias Harris ever put up. And I remember very clearly when they traded for Bryn Forbes, the Nuggets, and it was like, oh, finally, help has arrived, baby. And it was just a complete disaster. So, yeah, I don't know. Fine MVP. 2020.
I mean, Jokic had Bol, who's basically Wemby.
Yeah.
That's what they're calling him. They're saying he's basically Wemby.
Hey, yeah. Well, if you can't play, if you cannot play next to Jokic, it's really tough to catch.
You might not be Victor Wembanyama if you can't play next to Nikola Jokic and succeed.
It's tough, man. Who's 22?
Well, no, that was 22.
Oh, my fault.
So 23, this is the Embiid year, and this is another interesting year to compare to now because Giannis was the best team. He was on the best team. He was the best player. He averaged 31, 12, and 6, and also put up like insane numbers in his own right. And he finished third behind Jokic and Embiid. And so this was like as tough as a numbers battle as you're ever going to get. I think this is the year Jokic is like 70% true shooting and Embiid is like the highest highest volume 65% true shooting scoring season ever. This was just a complete like monstrous numbers year. But Zach Lowe says the gap on defense widened this year. Embiid is an all-defensive candidate. Jokic is better than the eye test suggests, but he's just way behind Embiid. And then this is also the year Jokic's defense faded as the Nuggets limped to the finish line. And yeah, so they all things were pretty much equal except for Embiid's defense, and this is the year Jokic kind of like stopped. I don't know if he stopped trying or he just they were bad for like the last month and a half or so of this season.
Yeah, that was, I remember, because I was also like, I was kind of in an Embiid camp. I was like, that was one of the first times I encountered Jokic fans and how like diehard they could be. Because I was like, yeah, I've got Embiid winning the MVP. And people were like, you are an idiot. You are a dork. Some even call me a doofus and a nincompoop, if I remember correctly. I know.
That's too much, man.
I told my mom about it. She was devastated. So, yeah, that was like one of the first things where I was like, whoa, like Jokic fans, like, go for it. And I remember I was also, like, I picked Embiid, but I was like, why is Giannis not, like, being talked about more? Because he, like, that is, like you said, one of the craziest, just all three of these guys, like, any one of them could win, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense because the numbers are absolutely insane.
Yeah. So I just looked it up. In the final 17 games, the Nuggets went 7-10, and then the Sixers went 11-6. And the beginning of that, they were on like an 8 or a 9 game win streak. So if we put that to like 20, it's probably like 14-6 or whatever. And so yeah, this. First of all, yeah, the Giannis thing is crazy, where this is probably like the hardest MVP race of the last however many years. Just 3 insane, very legitimate arguments. Kind of like we were talking about at the beginning, where it's like if you say Shai is the MVP, it's totally fine. If you say Jokic is, if you say Giannis was that year, there's not a ton to like go against him. It's just that the other two were also crazy, and I think maybe that's like you could say some voter fatigue was apparent there. But yeah, I do feel like this is also the poster child for the last stretch of the season mattering so much in terms of voting. The Sixers just really closed out that season strong, and the Nuggets looked it's crazy that they won the title with the way they looked at the end of the race. They were clearly coasting.
the fraud 1 seed allegations were coming up. I remember that. They were like, oh, this team can't do it. Jokic can't do it. And then he led the
Hey,
playoffs. Like,
shout out to
Jaden
Jaden McDaniels for shattering his hand in the play-in tournament unprompted. He just punched a door and he was like, I don't get to play against the Nuggets anymore. Because I mean, shit. I like now that I'm looking at how the fucking Wolves have played us like since that series, it's like, damn, that would have been pretty tough. They already took us 6 games without Nas or McDaniels. So yeah, it's fine. I'm glad that Embiid got it though. Really, like looking at everything that's gone down since and how his future is looking now. If he never had one, that would be crazy.
That was also right around the time when Rudy Gobert also tried to break his hand on Kyle Anderson's face as well, like literally in the span of 3 days.
Damn.
Yeah.
What a nightmare season,
the
dude.
good old days. We didn't know we were in them.
Yeah.
And then, so last year, Jokic is just kind of straight up best numbers. And then now we're here to this year. And so this is another hardcore numbers battle. But like you guys have said, and honestly, I hadn't done like a deep dive myself into it until last night, or like really thought about it that much.
Mm-hmm.
And I did go in with like the feeling like, I'm probably going to think Jokic is better. I'm probably going to go. But after looking at the numbers like across the board,
it's hard. It's hard to make the case, dude.
Yeah, it's 29, 13, and 11 versus 33, 5, and 6 for Shai. Jokic 66% true shooting, Shai 64. The offense is better as a team with the Nuggets, with Jokic on the court versus Shai on the court for the Thunder, but the defensive gap is pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
And as we've talked about, Shai is a really good defender versus Jokic. Yeah. He is what he is. The numbers always say he's pretty good, but it's just
the advanced stats that are like assists are actually good for defense. If you didn't know that,
those calculator dweebs. No.
Yeah,
he is. I guess there is a little bit of an impact metric argument for Jokic. He's first in 4 of them, and he's second in 2 versus Shai. He's first in 2, second in 2, and third in 2. So those signals point a little bit more towards Jokic. They're both like straight up tied in EPM. So there's really, I think the numbers, like at worst they're equal, and then you have the best player on the best team argument for Shai, and then you have the two-way argument. Like the only argument we've seen used in these other 3-point races was the triple-double, like triple-double versus not triple-double. You didn't get it, buddy. Sorry. But I feel like nobody's still holding on to that one.
No one cares.
And so, yeah, and then like I guess the only other precedent would be like, is Jokic's 30-20-20 happening this late in the season enough to stick in some people's mind? I don't really know.
No, I'm gonna guess. Yeah. I don't know. The way I've said it multiple times throughout the course of the season, and I've felt this way like leading up to over the past few years, is that like I never wanted the MVP to default to the guy carrying the worst team to the biggest load. And I always felt like the argument for best player on best team would naturally come around when there was like a season genuinely worthy of it, where for the past few years, there's always been the guys like Stephen A. in March being like, we got to talk about what Jayson Tatum's doing because they're going to win 65 games or whatever. And
I just like him.
I just like him.
Can you close your eyes, though, and picture his smile? Can you do that?
No.
Can you picture his beautiful arms caressing you as you're giving him a hug? Can you do that?
Colin Cowherd
I'm
kind of
picturing the Ruffles bag.
Hey.
Oh, you see it? What flavor? What flavor?
Oh, it's sour cream and onion.
Whoa.
I don't know. I don't know if he could be face of the league in that regard. If you're a sour cream and onion chip bag guy, I don't know.
LeBron came into the league at 18. He was cheddar day 1, you know?
His gum was good.
Yeah. But so, like, I do feel like Shai 100% is, like, the conclusion of that line of thinking that I was talking about, where it was like, hey, when there's a real argument for best player on best team, we won't have to frame it as like, this guy's gonna win 65 games, why aren't we talking about him more? And so, yeah, like, I don't know, I'm fine with it for sure.
I love the concept of like someone being like, why aren't we talking about this guy for MVP? Just like in the last 3 weeks of the season being like, hey, why aren't we talking about like Evan Mobley? And everyone's like, actually, you know what? Yeah. And then he just wins MVP from like the depths of hell. I love the thought process of that.
Oh my god.
Who would be the funniest MVP to just wreck someone's salary cap? To like they get a super max based off this. Is there any who actually is third right now?
In voting?
Yeah.
I have to assume it's Giannis, but
Giannis is who came to mind for me.
yeah. I don't know. In terms of like salary cap or whatever, it would be somebody stupid like that, like we're talking about, like a Jaren Jackson Jr. MVP. Like the Grizzlies, their whole timeline would be cooked if they're paying him, 70 mil or whatever.
Luka doesn't have the numbers, but it would be so funny to be like, he's my pick for how he turned around the Lakers defense. They've been on fire since they got him, and the LA media, and I don't know, does he get any kind of boost if he wins MVP? Like I know he lost out on a ton of money by virtue of being traded, but does he get any kind of supermax boost or no?
I don't know. I'm not locked into the incentives of everything. I know like getting awards gets you more money, but I don't know. I don't think winning the MVP like puts you back into like bird rights supermax type shit.
Yeah. So and then one more thing we should acknowledge. So naturally there will be people who like they hear numbers case, they say, but the context, you didn't consider the context. My eye test told me this. So are there any contextual factors that could throw, like any meaningful contextual factors that a Jokic fan could make? Like I was trying to think, none of them are concrete to me, but I was trying to think, like, is there any argument to be made about OKC being a better three-point shooting team? Like maybe Jokic's offensive impact is a little bit nerfed still by virtue of the Nuggets being a low-volume team.
Mm-hmm.
Denver takes 31 threes per game versus OKC takes 39. Denver makes 38%, OKC makes 37%, so it's only 1% difference. But as I was going through it, I was like, okay, it's only 14 makes for OKC per game versus 12 for Denver. But also
Denver's
like
second in percentage right now. I feel like a lot of people like just write them off as like non-shooters because of the volume.
Yeah.
Honestly, it hasn't been like an insane unlivable shooting situation.
Mm-hmm. And both of these guys, they themselves make up a big chunk of their team's 3-point shooting attempts. But even going by that, I don't know. Is 2 made 3-pointers a game? Is that enough of a on a points per, on like an impact scale, on like a on-off scale? Is that enough to make a difference or not really?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's tough to. The Nuggets are such a weird team. I do think if you wanted to make something, you could talk about how, yeah, despite the Nuggets being kind of a lower volume 3-point shooting team, the offense is still so good, in part because Jokic is just, I mean, I think they lead the league in points in the paint. I believe they do. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, Jokic is so dominant on that interior, and, whether it's, hitting guys on the cuts on the inside or setting them up for the few 3-point attempts they make. I say few, it's like a 2 difference. But I think there is like some type of argument to be made there that despite that not being the best offensive context for him with not a lot of volume shooters, yeah, I mean, he is so dominant on the interior that teams sometimes have to send a double, which gets them more 3-point shooting opportunities, or he just is eviscerating everybody on the inside and just bodying up on anybody and shooting right over them.
Yeah. To be honest, I really don't think there's like a huge like contextualizing some of the bigger numbers thing that goes deeper than like just the talent disparity. Like, and like I do think OKC is a better team and everything, but I don't think that prohibits him from winning the award. I would just like, if you wanted to go like full Jokic mode, I think you could make a more abstract argument to point to Bruce Brown and KCP right now, point to how Westbrook is playing actively next to Jokic, and then also point to like the big leap Christian Brown has taken, and start to speak more to the idea that Jokic's ability to like generate dunks and layups for people, like just generate literally wide open directly underneath the basket kind of shots. There is like just a different level of offensive value to that, or a different kind of offensive value. And so, yeah, I think you could make arguments in that regard, but I don't, the idea that like 2-3, some voter is going to be like, 12 versus 14, Jokic is touching the paint. It's really crazy when you're only looking at 12 threes. I don't think that's something that's going to happen.
Yeah, it is also tough with Shai being the driver and the paint attacker the way that he is. Like, I mean, it's just crazy.
We haven't even really talked about how good Shai. Like, I don't feel like we've glazed like just in a vacuum.
Yeah, I came here for the Shai Glaze sesh. I was promised. Jack DM'd me and said, "Do you want to be part of a Shai Glaze sesh?" Originally Wednesday, now Thursday, and I said I was down. And we have not glazed my glorious Aura King nearly enough.
All right, let's glaze his defense. So there may be some allegations. Hey, Shai just gets to play on an all-time great defense like Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, all these guys. They're so good at defense. He's just a cog in the machine. If Jokic were surrounded by all those guys, it'd look way different. What do you say to that? Where do you rank Shai as far as defender on this team overall?
First of all, I would say boo, like
Boo.
Something like that. It might be a little bit longer, like a little thumbs down, even a little bit louder if I was really
Rotten
into.
Tomato, maybe anybody, just
Yeah,
throw
I might
something.
I might have someone get behind them like on hands and knees, like behind their legs, so I could push them over and then they fall and look real silly. I might do something like that.
Nice.
If I want to get really crazy. The marble, I'd take some marbles, like throw them on the ground in front of them as they walk to work, and then they do the whoa, 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 and then slip and fall thing. One of those probably, but for the moment, I'll just present facts and numbers and stats. In terms of defenders on the team, I think one of the biggest things is the fact that like people will say, oh, they never put Shai on the opposing team's best player, which I think would be insane to do, even if Shai was like the best defender on the team, to have the guy who is supposed to be like your offensive engine force him to every single play guard.
Let's just tire him out, baby. Let's just
like
tire
that
him out.
feels an insane thing to do in the first place. But in terms of best defenders on the team, I think it's Chet is the best defender. I really believe he would have had a shot to win Depoy. I don't know if he could have overcome the aura of Wemby, going to the season.
Well, if Wemby still gets hurt and Chet plays 65 games, I do feel like Chet runs away with it at the end.
Like unanimous type of Depoy type season. And I mean, what he was doing to start off the year and then what he's been doing since, like, he is the best defender on this team. I think it's still crazy he didn't like really get it felt like serious consideration for all defense last year after how good the defense was with him at the helm. But I would say him first. I think Lou Dort is such an interesting guy because I think a lot of people would say, oh, Lou's like our best defender. And I do love the idea of like perimeter players getting more love for defensive player of the year and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I just think it's so hard when you consider, I mean, last night against Boston, Lou did some awesome stuff, but like the Celtics, the third quarter, they touched the paint a lot. Chet played almost the whole fourth quarter, and it felt like they just couldn't get anything on the inside. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that was Chet deterring guys away from the rim, altering shots, things of that nature. And so I think Lou is up there too. I would say it's probably Chet, then Caruso. I'd go second over Lou Dort.
I think that's fair.
I mean, if you take a look at some of the advanced numbers and like EPM and stuff, like Caruso's having one of the most insane guard defensive seasons like ever. He just has been, unfortunately. Okay, real quick rant. What the hell is going on with our hips? Why can nobody stay healthy with their hips? Chet breaks the hip. Caruso dealing with a hip injury throughout the season. J-Dub is out right now with a hip. I don't know what we have to do. Like, can I donate a hip? You guys are doctors. Can I donate my hip to OKC?
Yes, you can. It's possible.
Both of them?
Yeah, so if you want, it's a free country.
Okay, what will that do to me physically?
Well, you have no hips. You'll have to keep your legs. You'll have to decide at the time of surgery if you want your legs to be bent 90 degrees in a sitting position or you want to stand up for the rest of your life.
Okay.
You'll be able to lie way more because hips don't lie. So once you get them out of the equation, then you can.
And then I could push more propaganda about this foul merchant baiter that is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
You lose your hips.
I mean,
Shai's never even taken a free throw. You idiot.
He's never even looked at the free throw line. He doesn't know what that is. Okay.
There's no such thing as a free throw because
I'm gonna write that down in my Google Doc. Hold on 1 second. I have notes off to the side. Donate hips.
Donate hips. Hey, no.
If anyone out there has Mark Daigneault's phone number, let me know because I don't think the graphic tee is gonna be enough to like bat signal him. But I'm gonna try it. So yeah, I don't even remember where the hell I was. Caruso, his hips, like weird thing going on. Illness. I mean, him being in Boston, getting an illness. KP conspiracy theory. Is that a thing? So I'd say Chet, then Caruso, probably then Lou Dort. Actually, no, Jaylen Williams as well.
Yeah,
I think Shai probably put as like fifth because I think Jaylen Williams, like we're talking about Depoy stuff. I'm not saying J-Dub should win Depoy, but the fact that he's like nowhere even near like the top 4 to 5 in terms of odds, I think is insane. Because when I talk about who has been the single most impactful defender on the team this year, I think it has been Jaylen Williams, because we asked him to be the big. We've asked him to be the 4, the 3, guard 2. Like, he's legitimately guarded every position this season. And, we did go like 3-3 with him as the big. But the fact that we won some of those games and he held up against like Zubats, for example, is kind of crazy to me. So I think J-Dub is probably the most underrated defender on the team. So I'd probably slot Shai like 5th. I guess it just depends on how I feel about Case and
But
Balls
like
on a
normal team, he'd be like 3rd, really. Like
yeah, it definitely is crazy the amount of defenders that we have to put Shai in that spot, and he plays that role really well too. Where, I mean, he can guard up on the opposing team's best player if he needs to, but the big thing is, he roams a little bit off ball, gets steals, gets in passing lanes, disrupt things, like really quick with his hands. And I think because it's not like, oh, one-on-one real hoops, me versus you, 3 dribbles, locking up the opposing team's best player. I think sometimes people are like, oh, but he's not doing this, he's not doing that. It's like, we have a guy named Lugwitz. Like, come on, let's be real.
J-Dub specifically is when people talk about like wanting smaller players, like you said, like smaller players deserve more DPOY love or whatever. A lot of times I do feel like people are just being babies about it, where it's like the guard's probably just worse but looks cooler slapping the floor and like moving around and shit. With Dub, I feel like there is a very legitimate gripe about like people mentally writing off an undersized guy, because if you want to talk about just like consistently available, plugging whatever hole has been necessary throughout all of the health shit, because that's another part that we haven't super touched on that Shai MVP case, is like through all of these injuries they've been this caliber of a team, and offensively for sure he has been that, but defensively through all of these injuries, J-Dub's ability to bolster the front court has been just invaluable. And I like him a lot. I hope he has like a good offensive postseason.
I need it so bad. I can't do it. I need it so bad.
Last playoffs, he was cooking, and I was like, have we ever seen LaMarcus Aldridge be this good on a 60-win team? And everybody and to be fair, I don't know. I'm a fucking moron, and like I love LaMarcus Aldridge and everything, but like I was just trying to be edgy. I can't even talk about J-Dub anymore because people will be like, oh, wow, this is the guy, Mr. 55% true shooting is the guy or whatever. And I'm like, I'm sorry, everybody. Jeez. So, legacy postseason would move mountains for me.
At one point last year, it was earlier last year, but I was like, in him versus Anthony Edwards, I'm undecided. But people don't remember that, so I'm safe.
Nice.
I don't remember it, but I'm going to now, and I appreciate you.
Don't put it in your latest video.
I'll make a video all about that take, all about that one.
Breaking
How
down
do you feel
Pablo
about,
Escobar's Anthony Edwards' opinion.
How do you feel about J-Dub's idea of separating the big man defensive player of the year versus perimeter defensive player of the year?
I think I like the just one depoy. I think it should kind of be like, if you are that impactful, you can win it as a guard. I more so like his idea of 3 all defensive teams. It does feel weird that we've got like all NBA 3 teams and not all defense. Like, why is that? It just stops there. So to me, that's kind of something I like a bit more. But like I've seen people say, do we separate MVP and make it offensive player of the year? And I'm somewhat into football. Like I mentioned at the beginning with the Cowboys, they have caused me to fall out of football more because they are just the worst thing that's ever happened. If you hate the Cowboys and hate me because of it, good, I agree. But like, I've always thought it was, they've got offensive player of the year and MVP, and I guess I get that because like quarterbacks just always win it. But I don't know. I feel like part of the magic of the NBA is like being able to make these arguments in these debates when you're not threatening to kill someone over their thoughts on Jokic versus Shai. I feel like, offensive player of the year is cool and everything, but like, at this point, like Jokic would just have 77 of them, and he hasn't even played near that many seasons. I think we would have felt his aura coming from a mile away.
Yeah, I think the idea of like offensive player of the year, when people talk about like, LeBron would have 10 MVPs or Michael Jordan, like I feel like that would just very rapidly become like the consolation prize to give like the era defining guy who doesn't win MVP. Would just be like, okay, so okay, Fuck, what was I gonna say? Would you rather talk about what worries you in a playoff setting to close this out, or would you rather take some questions from our lobbyists? I copied and pasted. So on our Patreon, if you pay $5 a month, patreon.com/State of the League, you can ask us questions about NBA teams, and we usually save them for our long, like 3-hour full conference breakdowns on the weekends. But I copied and pasted some of the Thunder questions for you. So would you rather take questions from strangers or talk about postseason potential? I'll give you the options.
I'll do the questions. I'll real quick give like a 1-minute spiel about what could worry me, and I'm sure we'll get into that some of the questions. So, main thing that could worry me is like, yeah, what happens if Dub isn't quite, the offensive player we need him to be in a series? That worries me a little bit. Sometimes the team can go flat from 3. We've seen it happen before, and Shai's a monster. But if teams are trapping him, we're going to need to knock down those outside shots. And we've got a lot of really solid shooters between Lou and Wiggins and Isaiah Joe, but we did see some drop-off last year in the playoffs, so we need those guys to step up. And it really is just a matter of, can they play like this in the playoffs? I think they can, because they're a physical team that also loses the free throw battle like all the time. We have the worst free throw differential in the league. If you can't tell, free throws are kind of like the bane of my existence at this moment. But I think this team is built pretty well for the playoffs. It's just going to be, if we get in a series against I think Denver is, because they have Nikola Jokic, like that is the team that I personally think has the best chance of beating Oklahoma City, if you ask me. Because if he's just taking over and if the Nuggets shooters are knocking down shots and we start to shrink a little bit in that moment, then that's the scenario where I see us losing.
I saw Nuggets Twitter was coping with the loss last night, and it was like, why is it more comfortable to play OKC than it is to play the fucking Wolves? The Wolves just have our number, so anything besides that, the looking into the fucking abyss that is Minnesota would be preferential. Okay, so Barry C says, how would you guys rank the OKC role player squad of Kaysen, Wiggins, Joe, and Caruso? Caruso's probably first, blah, blah, blah. I think you could reasonably argue that all 4 are in the same tier. My personal order would be something like Wiggins, Caruso, Kaysen Wallace, and then Isaiah Joe, just because I'm a Wiggins homer. So, obviously, Thunder, incredibly deep, talented team with a lot of guys who are fan favorites, super just fun guys to watch. So those 4, Kaysen Wallace, Andrew Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Alex Caruso. How would you rank them in terms of talent?
I'd say probably Caruso first in terms of the impact, what he brings to the table. I think one of the Thunder secret weapons they're going to unveil or whatever in the playoffs is Caruso just plays more minutes. And then it's oh yeah, shit, this guy's insane. Yeah, it's damn, he's really good. So I think Caruso. Then I'd put Aaron Wiggins, I would say, because of, he saved the sport of basketball. We appreciate him for that.
Crazy that Caruso beats that out, really. That's a real testament to Caruso that he gets to be one over saving
It's honestly
sport.
The fact that he's just I don't think I've ever seen anyone that bald be that good at basketball.
Michael Jordan.
Hey,
I've never heard of him.
Hey, yeah.
Please don't bring up people I've never heard of.
The baseball player? Come on.
Yeah, the guy on the White Sox. The hell are you talking about?
The 2001 Pistons or Pacers. What was the team that they were all bald? They went.
Yeah.
It was the Bald Ballers.
Okay.
Someone write that down. Expansion team, Seattle. Sorry.
Bezos, yeah.
Yeah, Bezos buys the Seattle team. They're the Bald Ballers, and he's the mascot.
Nice.
Okay.
So I would say Caruso 1. I'd say Wiggins 2. Then I'd probably go Kaysen 3. I think people underrate how insane he is defensively. I don't think I've ever seen somebody block jumpers the way that Kaysen does.
Last night against the Jaylen Brown mid, that was one of my favorite.
Yeah, he
clips
did that,
of the
and
game.
I was he did the thing. He did it. And then. Me when I see him do the thing. And then number 4, I'd say, is probably Isaiah Joe. One of the weaker defenders on the team, but you want to talk about aura. Isaiah Joe, he hits those deep threes, and the aura is just off the charts.
Yeah. Isaiah Joe specifically, it's just it's tough. We talk a lot about the Thunder just kind of, from an opponent perspective, spamming good players at you, where it's just fuck me. I'm a star player on the other side. I got to get guarded by Dort, then Caruso, then I get Kaysen Wallace, then I get a J-Dub switch or whatever. And they finally plug in a guy who's defensively. He's not terrible, but not historic defense level guy. And then once they finally plug that guy in, it's oh no, that's just the spark plug. He's just going to give you 9 points on 4 shots real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, love Isaiah Joe, definitely one of the weaker defenders, but he is one of the more important players, I would say, because we need him to like be that spacer, that shooter for us in the playoffs.
I have a question for you based off of that. You're in a little bit of a unique position as a Thunder guy. So one big philosophical question I've had over the course of this year is which is more damaging, to be ignored on offense by opposing defenses, or to be targeted on defense by opposing offenses? And so the Thunder, you had Josh Giddey last year. He was both. So that was a disaster. This year, now it's a more normal situation. Let's say Alex Caruso goes cold from three, like over the course of a series, and he's a guy that they're just willing to leave in the corner, and he's not hitting shots. And then you have like Isaiah Joe, where he's a guy who would probably be like pulled into a lot of like on-ball actions against like the Celtics. Like Tatum would be like, "Bring him here, let me bully him," and stuff like that. Which do you think is a bigger weakness?
I would say, in the Thunder's context, it is the guy who's just not being guarded. Because, I mean, like literally Josh Giddey out there last season, it was a complete disaster. Mark was trying to make it work. You know, he kept starting him, and I mean, it was just a nightmare. Like, they would just leave him, and we'd start off down like 12 every game, and I'm like, all right, they need to not do this. But right, so you are a Bulls fan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Josh Giddey, $30 million. Is that, do you think that's on the table?
Hey, we don't want to let him walk. 35. Let's go 35.
Oh my. This frauduary run is going to absolutely destroy me.
Damn, I didn't have a chance to double check this, but Isaac from Project 94, we were talking. He said in the fraud run, Giddey is shooting 50% from three and 49% at the rim.
I believe the three is sustainable.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
I believe that rim is sustainable too.
These are numbers. I think they're gonna stick.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, but I would say in the Thunder context, with like how good this team is defensively, if teams are like, yeah, we're gonna target Isaiah Joe out of all people, sure, go for it and meet Chet at the rim every time, or then we send a little bit of extra pressure over and it's Dub getting the passing lanes, or it's Shai, or it's Case and it's Caruso. Like, if someone's going really cold from three and they're just leaving them open, especially when I think they're going to send a lot of pressure at Shai in that moment, I think with the Thunder specifically, that's a lot more detrimental.
Yeah. Okay. JT Powers says, with the death of Dub, oh damn, rest in peace. What does Chet need to get in order to make up for the loss, and what will that leap look like? Then he also says, be nicer to Pablo. Pablo, fuck you. But. So yeah.
It paused for us when you said it. Was just like, fuck.
You literally hit them and it just froze completely.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah.
It felt like you could have said, Pablo, friend of mine, I appreciate you greatly, is where I thought it was going. But it cut out. We really don't know what you said, so we'll just assume that.
It's Schrodinger's curse, like we don't know what I said there. We'll
never know.
So Chet. Little like 15 games here at the end of the season where I want to know how you feel about J-Dub's injury, because a lot of people, I quoted the no timeline tweet, and a lot of Thunder fans were like, they're always like, kind of murky about injuries. They like to keep their cards close to their chest or whatever. So how do you feel about the J-Dub injury, hip out, no timeline? And then B, what would you like to see from Chet Holmgren in the absence of J-Dub to close out this season? That would, a great offensive game against the Celtics last night. We want to see more of that.
That's basically it. I mean, what he did yesterday, I think if Dub's back and healthy, even if he struggles a little bit in the playoffs, if Chet is putting up that offense, it's going to be like almost impossible to stop this team consistently for a 7-game series. Really, that is the thing, is that was how he was playing at the beginning of the season pre-injury, is where Chet was hyper aggressive, knocking down threes, taking guys off the dribble. Multiple times Luke Cornett just got put in hell by Chet. He would like spam him with 12 different pump fakes, and eventually he bites on one, jumps into it, taking notes from the foul merchant Bader ruining the league and Shai. Like, I just want to see Chet continue to be aggressive and be like that guy, because yesterday we won the non-Shai minutes against the Celtics by 3, and a lot of that was Chet. But it's not only like I want to see him do stuff individually. I want to see him and iHeart specifically continue to build that chemistry, because the double big thing has been a whole thing on Thunder Twitter. It's like, does it suck? Is it great? There have been times where it sucked, but like last night it was awesome against the Celtics.
Guy like
they
me,
were killing it.
Guy like me doesn't remember when it sucks, baby. I only remember the lobs, and they're so cool. So I'm like, this
there
works.
You go. See, it's like the whole like sing on the sides of the bus thing. It's the sunny side is, man, that Chet to iHeart lob was sick. And then the other side is like that game I was at in Brooklyn against the Nets, where we went down by like 20, and I'm like, can we like not run double big right now? So
yeah. You know,
but I think.
Oh, sorry. You go. You're the guest. You go.
You go. I'm the guest. I say you go.
Okay. I was just gonna say,
the customer's always right.
You know, it's like a fucked up game when the second the coach sits down at the media table, they're like, "Yo, what's up with that lineup? That was a scary lineup that you were running. How do you feel about that?"
Yeah, that was, I mean, I was like literally, so I was there with my fiance, and I'm just like, I start hysterically laughing after, who was it who made a three? Someone made like their third three of the game, and I was like laughing really hard. I think Dayron Sharp hit 2 threes in that game, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And I started laughing. She's like, what? I was like, this is just crazy. Yeah. I think Zaire Williams had like 4 threes. Killian Hayes was like dicing things up, rest in peace to him. Like I was.
Yeah.
Were you Keon Johnson victims that game or no?
We were Keon Johnson victims.
Nice. Yeah. That reminds me of I went to the Jokic had 56 when they lost to the Wizards. I'm in DC. I went to that game with my girlfriend, and her sister and her sister's boyfriend were in town. They came with us. Not big basketball people to our degree, obviously, not fucking loser sickos, but like they were just having fun. Like, it was a really entertaining game from an outside perspective. But me watching my world crumble as like career game where he loses to the worst team in the league, I was just like, I don't even want to go to dinner after this, guys. Let's just go home.
One of my best friends was also there because he drove up to DC to hang out. Y'all might have passed by and like brushed hands or something.
Maybe
could have been a moment. Who knows?
Ooh.
But he was like, yeah, I'm going to go see the Wizards play the Nuggets. Jokic is going to kill them and they're going to lose, whatever. But he's like, I got to see a Wizards win and a great Jokic game. Like, this is special. But it was like the same thing at the Nets game. There was this family sitting in front of me, enjoying the time of their life. The little kids, like, they're recording everything. They're like, oh, this is so cool. And I'm sitting there like, y'all don't understand. This is magnet ball. This is ridiculous. Keon Johnson would never hit this many threes in most games. So, yeah, that's...
They won't do it in April. Enjoy it now.
Yeah, enjoy it now when your lottery goes terrible because you keep winning games and Jordy Fernandez is too good of a coach, you losers.
Hey, yeah, that's a fair criticism.
That's what I told to the 8-year-olds in front of me. But, yeah, so... I don't remember where I was at. Chet, the double big thing. Yeah, just I want to see more chemistry built between those two. Chet missed a lot of the middle of the season. iHeart missed the beginning, so they've only like recently gotten the actual chance to play together. And I think some Thunder fans are like, "What? This isn't looking good. Why is Mark continuously doing this?" Like, we have a 12-game lead on the second seed. If we lose a couple games to just get dad and figure out what works, I don't care.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what if Minnesota gets hot, man? They're only 5 games back from the 2 or whatever. It's just like, yeah.
One of the most insane things I saw was someone tweet out, like, I think the Thunder were at that point up like 9 on the Nuggets, and they're like, I mean, hey, is it out of the question we catch OKC? I was like, oh, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's especially, I don't know. The Nuggets' remaining schedule is just fucking brutal. And so, yeah, I think the Thunder got it locked up, and I'm very much on board. Figure out what works. Run some experiments before the playoffs, for sure. All right, that's the last one I copy and pasted, really just asking for the MVP case that we've spent 2 hours talking about. So we don't have to go
should
through
we
that.
big picture glaze Shai's season in terms of guard seasons? Is this the best since?
Yeah, we can run through. I have to dip in. Let's call it in like 9-10 minutes. I gotta go. But we can. I'm down to big picture. Do you want to lead off, Pablo? By I don't know. Do you have something in mind?
No, I think Cone is the guy. How big of a deal is this Shai season?
I think it is again, very a biased person here in the middle. I think it's one of the better guard seasons I've ever seen. Because you take a look at, like, of course, the numbers, the scoring is crazy, leading the league in points. The top 2 leading scorers in the league are Shai, and Shai after 3 quarters of the basketball game. That's ridiculous. The defense is there. He's going to be all defense potentially and the MVP of the league. The team is running away with the Western Conference. Biggest gap ever between a 1 and a 2 seed was last year with the Celtics. It was 14 games. The Thunder have a chance to get close to that mark. And I really do think people forget Chet missed a lot of the season. Ihart missed the beginning of the year. For some reason, I feel like that doesn't come up really. Mm-hmm. And so the way that he has elevated this team, it's just... And just strictly, if you want to talk about like being a pure hoop watcher, like, I mean, he's having one of the most like insane like shot making seasons I've ever seen. I can't remember many times where a player has like, I mean, I don't want to bring up 2016 Steph Curry because that's one of the scariest players of all time. I remember watching that double bang game against the Thunder. That was like maybe the moment that like most traumatized me at that young age.
Hey,
but like,
I'm forgetting you're on the opposite end. I'm like, that was such a good moment.
Yeah.
Now looking back, I'm like, that was so sick. Like that was so cool. In the moment, I'm like, damn you, Steph Curry. Like 16-year-old Cone, like punching the wall, like, but it's kind of similar in like, I don't know how opposing teams like fans feel about it, but I have to imagine like Shai comes in and just drops 40 on the most insane mid-range jumpers you've ever seen. And it's like that type of deflating where it feels like, hey, we didn't even guard him that bad. He just can't like miss. It's just physically impossible. And it's also like the team's net rating with him on the court. It would be the best net rating of all time. The Thunder still have a chance to get the single best net rating season ever. Like they're not that far back of the Chicago Bulls in 96. Right now, the Thunder, I think we're at a 12.7, and it's 13.4. That is like the top one. So right now, they have the second best net rating ever. So the elevation that Shai's brought to the table, it is not just the Thunder are a good or a great team. This is like an all-time team, is what the numbers will tell you, in addition to like the personal stats. So like I think it is maybe the best guard season since 2016 Steph. I think it's in that conversation for sure.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair. Where when I don't know, like especially in the context of all of the flopping free throw stuff, I definitely feel like when I was watching MVP Westbrook was one thing, because I was like, this team is clearly not going to win the title. But even MVP Harden in 2018, I was like, there's like potential for this to, you know, they let the physicality ramp up and shit could not go as smoothly as you want it to, even though he has a lot more like offensive tool set from just the pure passing perspective also. But like we saw that a serious regression, even though they came so close to winning. I'm trying to be fair to Harden here. I never feel that way with Shai. I always feel like, hey, any level of like physicality that gets allowed, he's huge. He's like really capable of, you know, bumping whoever as far as like backcourt defenders that get thrown at him. He's capable of like getting to his spots and generating space. And then B, like you mentioned, like just insane levels of difficult contested shot making that like if it doesn't translate to a postseason scenario, it would like go against everything I know about basketball. It would be very much like I guess like a DeRozan thing of like, hey, he's getting the exact same looks and like he's just missing them. There's no change in like offense or coverage or anything. And so, yeah. And then I also feel like he's one of the best microwave scorers I've seen in a long time, where like I have regularly like looked at the box score this season and he'll be at like 10 points on okay efficiency, like 5 of 11 or whatever. And it's especially from when the Jokic MVP case was still alive. I'd be like, we're going to get one on him tonight, baby. This is where we get a leg up. And then I'd check back. I'd throw it on in the fourth quarter, and the announcers would be like, Shai's at 35. There's 8 minutes left in the game. And I'm like, oh, my God. Okay, come on. Like, there's rapidly, he'll just rattle off like an 18-point quarter. And, yeah, it's been incredible.
Yeah, it is crazy. Like he will have games where it's like 35, 6, and 7, but he'll shoot like a tick under 50%. I'm like, it didn't even feel like that crazy of a Shai game. Like, you know, that was just like, there will be Thunder fans complaining like, oh, Shai wasn't actually that good tonight. We need him to be better against this opponent. I'm like, guys, like let's calm down a little bit.
Yeah. Pablo, what about you?
Yeah, I think when I think of him like historically, it's a little hard to. It seems like all the guard MVPs are all like the MVP contention guards. Like they were all just write them off on defense completely. Like Harden was disastrous, Westbrook was disastrous, Curry was okay, like at his best or solid. But so Shai to me is like it's really like him, Wade, and Jordan, and I don't know if anyone is with them, and like just thinking about it's just so much harder to be an impactful guard defender, I feel like, in today's NBA than it was, especially in Jordan's era, but even going back to peak Wade. Like, it was just complete. It wasn't a spaced-out NBA. They didn't have to cover as much ground, and it was just physically more taxing. And those guys also, well, I don't know, but I don't remember Wade's specific defensive personnel around him, but Jordan always had great defenses around him, so it's not as if, like, his burden was lessened, or his burden was more compared to Shai. And so really it is just it's a season that if we had the right NBA media landscape to glaze him like the old NBC, this should be something there should be like documentaries made about, and like people should be talking about the season all the time. This should be people should be sick of hearing about Shai, but it's happening in Kendrick Perkins' $50 million extension, or I forget how much he got. Stephen A. $50 million. It's happening in this era. That probably the only documentaries made will be by Thunder fans or by Shai himself. And so yeah.
Well, thankfully the Netflix starting five thing is with Shai right now. Like they're doing this season.
Okay.
This is a great year for that. Damn,
a perfect one. Like it's. I mean, they just killed it choosing that. Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole nother 2-hour episode about the MVP, or not the MVP, the media landscape. Did you guys know the Pistons actually suck and they're no fun to watch and that they're the worst?
Well, yeah.
But
they're
Chauncey
like,
hasn't played well.
Yeah. Shout out to Chauncey for really getting them going. Yeah, I know, and Isaiah Thomas over there on the coaching staff too. Both of them actually.
Yeah.
Like the one who played recently and the older one. Yeah, they're both on the coaching staff with Chauncey Billups.
My least favorite part of all of that is like 60-year-old man wearing like those weird wraparound sunglasses inside while doing like it's one thing to be like a giant, like, you know, crotchety dickhead who's like very set in your ways and everything. It's another to like do it while being like the third Paul brother almost, like this weird angle of like, okay, I'm Shaq, I'm one of the best of all time, blah blah blah, but everybody's got to make content and get clips off or whatever. It's like, dude, no, that's not real.
People with $500 million in the bank account and 100 sponsorships waiting.
I was going to say he's got like 1 billion sponsors. He could get 1 billion more if he wanted to. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
He is Papa John. They made the Shaq-a-roni pizza. You don't need to like just completely rip apart the Pistons. You've got a pizza at Papa John's. Like we can calm down.
Oh, Pistons, Little Caesars Arena. Papa John's taking him down.
That's the whole thing. It's a marketing war. That's it. You solved
Shaq,
it.
I see you, bro.
The vans are gonna pull up in about 5 minutes.
Really, it's just an insane way to spend your time when you're that rich and you hate basketball that much.
Yeah. When your job is especially to be the like, hey, here's basketball.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I guess we could wrap it up. A somber tone. Hey, we're fixing it though. You know, I'm sure by the time we're Shaquille O'Neal's age, we will be both as wealthy as he is and as embraced by the NBA. We will all be on national TV together. It's really exciting.
And I've done Gold Bond commercials.
Oh, dude, when I get the Gold Bond contract, you'll never hear from me again.
I'm gonna start dumping poop on people.
Oh, nice.
That's how you'll know he's made it. You'll hear reports that he's dumping poop on people covered in Gold Bond.
Okay, hey, this is your moment. Plug whatever you want to plug as far as like using the platform. Advertise your shit.
Yeah. Threecone, that's all spelled out THREECONE over on YouTube. That's where I do most of my stuff. I do stuff with Snapback Sports. I'm Basketball Town over there. There is a YouTube channel where we go to like, you know, sporting events and it's finding like the best sports experience in the world. I'm going to be at a Pistons home playoff game when the playoffs roll around. That's going to be awesome. I'm going to be there. If the Thunder in the finals, I'm going to be at that. Might go to Caitlin Clark going back to Iowa for like a preseason fever game. So a lot of cool stuff coming up over there. So make sure to go check that out. I watched soccer for the first time in Paris where I got engaged to my fiance. That was a crazy stretch for me.
That's insane.
Thank you so much.
Too
I know,
much
right?
is going well for you right now.
Things are going well. It's just The unfortunate thing is that this would be the perfect time for the Thunder to just collapse for no reason and then completely ruin my life. Like, everything that's going well, if that happens, it will be the worst year of my entire life.
Hey.
But up until then, we'll see. So yeah, stuff over on Snapback Sports on YouTube as well as on TikTok and Instagram. I did a video yesterday where I acted as if I was a weatherman reporting on the state of the NBA, and I might do that as a series. That was fun. And then just YouTube channel over on X, the Everything app, just the best platform that exists right now. I can't even say that unironically. I'm so sorry I did that, or say that ironically. Like, that just broke me. Yeah. Over on Twitter, it's 3_cone.
Well, we're free market guys, so as long as it's making money, it's got to be good, right? You know.
I know, right? Eggs, am I right?
It's funny. I don't know, just your life going so well, and you're like, well, it's perfect for the Thunder to lose. I would argue like you're in the defining moment of what like 55-year-old you is his entire life will revolve around is like the best year of your life capped off by this incredible Thunder finals run. And so then this will be why you care so much about Shai in 30 years is because all of these other chemicals are firing in your brain that have nothing to do with basketball.
Yeah. See, this is why you're a doctor. You just get it. You just understand how things work. I'm gonna be 60 years old, and my kids are like, Webby's the GOAT and this, that. I'm like, I'm gonna tell you about Lou Dort, who's number 5, hangs in the.
Basketball is an endurance race. Whoever's got something left to give in the fourth quarter wins. Up tempo means I'm going to run you into the ground.